with caution. Chapter 2. Father would stay in his room this whole time, typing away on his gun-metal typewriter. He'd feed us come the evening and in the morning, but during the day we were more or less free to roam. We'd have piled downstairs at first light. We wouldn't know the time, but the dark wooden mantel clock would pitch in at some point and warn us. 5, 6, 7, and as the morning wore on, the 8, 9, and 10. And if he wasn't up by then, well, we wouldn't expect him. We'd grab ourselves whatever bread there was and shriek through it with a blunt butter knife, use the same knife to cover it with butter and dunk into the jam pot. We couldn't reach a tap for a drink unless we drank from the bath taps, which we did on occasion. And if we were making too much noise, we'd sometimes hear the creaks of the wooden ceiling and floorboards above, and we'd freeze. And if there was silence that followed, we could relax. But if there were the mighty clumps of father making his way downstairs barefoot, we'd panic and reach for anything that looked respectable, little there was in that darkened kitchen. A postcard, a hairbrush. We'd push the food into the middle of the table, an island untouched by our young hands, and wait for the internal stable door to creak open. And there he'd emerge, reddened feet, gnarled nails, eyes glazed, hair slanting like the roof of a collapsed shed. If we kept quiet, we were invisible sometimes, and he'd pass us by without even an acknowledgement, not even a look. He'd pass through the kitchen into the tiny vertical coffin lavatory cupboard and release a long stream of pish that seemed to go on forever. Paul and me would stare at each other, counting 13, 14, 15, whilst tidying more, finishing any distilled bathwater, dabbing up crumbs, straightening pyjama jackets. We would learn the subtleties. If he went to wash his hands, he could be getting up and we could be in trouble for something, for eating the food maybe, or waking him. But if he just came straight through with no hand wash, that was him going back to bed. We'd sit bolt upright, eyes locked, don't follow his movement, and he'd be out of the kitchen, flicking the door closed behind him and creaking up the wooden stairs. We'd leave it a minute, then that'd be us, breathing out, reaching for the bread, having our fill, then cleaning the butter. If we'd eaten too much jam, if the jam was looking empty, we would take it to the bathroom and mix in some bath water, put the lid on and shake it up. Before too long, the jam would be a watery soup, but father never seemed to notice. We would, of course, but the taste of the sugar was still there, and if the bread was stale, the water would help that too. Mid-morning, before lunch, we'd once more begin to hear mutterings and stretches, floorboards strained, bed springs. By that time, we were braver, making more noise, killing more soldiers, clashing more swords, the swords being sticks, of course, or merely long grass. Then, most days, a slow, gradual clatter of keys as he pushed the ancient metal typewriter through its paces. What he was writing we did not know, didn't understand how this machine could communicate, though he had on occasion show us the spidery signs, squares and circles, the endless black-grey letters snaking across the page. We could read a bit, of course we could, but whatever father was writing, well, that took a different kind of reading. You know, his words made no sense at all. On the good days he'd bring us in and shout with joy, "Joseph, Paul, will you come up and see this now?" And we'd stop whatever we were doing and cautiously troop up the stairs. He'd be dressed then, mostly, or half-dressed, but trousers on, vest too, a shirt maybe, his thick woolen jumper from autumn to spring's end, and he'd wave a sheet of paper in front of us. 6 lines he'd have.